What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living here in Accra, Ghana. And if you want to know what my major life update is and if I'm leaving Ghana, then this is the video for you. All right. We are live. We're live. Man, I got a crazy update for you guys, and it has to do with Ghana. So let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm just seeing if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Just give me a thumbs up so I know. Give some time for people to join. Last week's live was a controversial one and very well attended live. Unfortunately, those of you on Instagram didn't get a chance to see last week's YouTube live. I'm going to put a link in the actually the link is in the description on my profile. So after this live, go back and take a listen. All right, cool. So Origin X2, Bernard Williams, and Diamond Natural all can hear me. Great. Let me know on YouTube if you guys can hear me. Shoot me a comment or like just a thumbs up if you can hear me on YouTube. On Instagram, I know you guys can hear me. Man, last week was wild. Miss P. What's up, Miss P? How you doing? I hope all is well. Can you hear me? Make sure you guys tell me you can hear me. YouTube, I need some confirmation that you guys can hear me. This is a very, very different live today. I got a life update. We're not very different because I always give updates about what's going on with me here in Ghana, but this has to do with whether or not I'm leaving Ghana. So definitely let me know if you guys can hear me on YouTube so I can get into the content. I guess what I'll do in the meantime, since I haven't heard back from anybody yet, is this. So well, Miss P says she's good. See Upshaw, sorry. Hello, what's up? Anne Marie Harding can hear me. Good. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get into the content first. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll talk a little bit about what this major life update is, and whether or not I'm leaving Ghana. And I mean, I guess spoiler alert, I will be leaving Ghana, but we'll get into more details on that in a second because it's not. Anyway, we'll get into what that means and how that's going to happen and all of that. Okay, so first things first. So I mentioned last week on last week's live. If you guys haven't caught last week's live, you definitely want to watch it. It was with Kenya and Massa, who are Sierra Leonean Americans living in Ghana, who have a different story than me, but similar background. And so they were explaining their experience living in Ghana, why they chose Ghana over Sierra Leone. And we just did a video together, the three of us, of our reactions to Wode Maya's visit to Sierra Leone. So you guys got to be on the lookout for that. Because if you guys remember last week, Monday, my two special guests were definitely very, very opinionated. And in that interview, in that reaction video, they held nothing back. 8-minute video, but the reaction video is almost an hour. So we got some editing to do, but I'm going to put that out soon so you guys get a chance to hear that. But in the meantime, the plan is to still go live with 3 videos a week. I was not able to do that last week. And I'll get into why that is in a second and why I've struggled to get more content out over the last, 4 months or so. It has been difficult because it's hard working here in Ghana. I'll put it that way, very hard. So it's taken a while to put out some content that I've been promising. So Ashley Ward is here. I think I've already said. No, I haven't. So what's up, Ashley? Sorry, Alicia. I keep doing that. Sorry, Alicia Ward. Alicia. And David McCrae's here. What's up? And shout out, Mr. Bounce Los Angeles is here on Instagram Live. Man, I didn't go live on Instagram last Monday. Mr. Bounce Los Angeles. I don't know if you got a chance to catch that live, but if you did, let me know. I did it on. It's why two people decided to move to Ghana instead of Sierra Leone, and they're Sierra Leonean Americans. It was really really controversial. Controversial. There was a little bit of an argument that went on. They were speaking in Creole. It was all the vibes, but it was good. It was good. But yeah. Anyway, so what's the update? What's the major update? So some of you who know, I'm looking at some of the people who are joining. Shout out to Samara joining. I am leaving my job at Jumia. That's the big update. I'm leaving my job at Jumia. For those of you who don't know, a bunch of people look like a bunch of new people are joining, especially on YouTube Live. So I am the head of advertising. If anybody is familiar, Jumia is an e-commerce store based on the continent of Africa. They're in 11 countries right now, and everywhere from Algeria, Morocco, Nigeria, Senegal, Ivory Coast, Kenya, Uganda, South Africa. I'm sure I'm missing Egypt, but anyway, Ghana. Right, they're in 11 countries on the continent, and I was the head of advertising for Ghana until technically the 21st, 23rd of March. So I'm still at Jumia for 2 more days technically. But yeah, this time has come to an end. It has been a trying experience for sure, seeing what it's like to be paid like a Ghanaian at a company here locally in Ghana, paid in Ghana CDs, and learning what it's like to work in Ghana. It's one of the things that I definitely learned from this experience is that Africans are severely underpaid and are expected to do a lot of work, more than what should be expected for the amount that they're being paid. That's for sure. And I got a chance to see that from the inside. The company overall has been a great company to work for. I've learned a lot. I've met a lot of interesting people. I traveled to Egypt at the end of last year, as you guys might know, in November. Definitely met some really, really talented people. Very impressive backgrounds from all over the continent, but even all over the world. And even within the country of Ghana, in my role, in my capacity, I met a lot of interesting people. And so throughout that process, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about e-commerce in Africa. I've learned a lot about business in Africa, really. I mean, it was 12 months, but my job at any other company usually has 3 people doing it. And it was me by myself as the head of advertising, basically ad operations, account management, analytics, post-campaign metrics and reporting, all of that stuff all in one. And if you can imagine, like this month, for instance, I had 13 clients go live. So I had to do all 3 of those jobs with 13 clients. Right. So, it was definitely an experience. I learned a lot, and I would never change it for the world. Like, it was definitely what I needed at the time, but it's time to move on. It's time to move on. So, I'm announcing here first before I guess announce it more publicly on LinkedIn. I changed my title and profile on LinkedIn. By the way, after this is over, and I'll put it in my description, everybody can go over to my LinkedIn page and check out my LinkedIn background and my profile and all of that. It's a public profile, so you can see it. But in case any of you who work in the next career field that I'm going back into, there's a potential to work together, definitely let me know. Okay, so what am I doing? Well, let me finish explaining what happened in this previous role and what this last year has been like, and why I'm moving on. I'm definitely going to be more in depth and more candid in a video at a later point in time where I can be more edited and I can choose my words carefully. But I don't want to do all of what I want to say on a live, but I'll give you the high level, just give you an understanding of what the experience was like for me. Number one, like I said, I was working multiple roles. I Two, I was new to the marketplace. I grossly underestimated how difficult it might be coming from the US and moving to Ghana and selling to advertisers in Ghana. Because I had a 15-year career before coming here, and now I have 16 years in my career. And so the expectation was that it was going to be more of a seamless transition. The last few roles that I've moved into new roles. I've been promoted in every role, except for at Hulu. But, I was promoted in every role, and I really got a chance to um, expand on my learning and my responsibilities and managing of a team and all of that. And all of that just came kind of naturally as every new role. And when I came here to Ghana, I came to a company where I thought, okay, look, there are going to be some challenges, of course, which I didn't even know what they would look like yet. But I thought at the end of the day, I have 15 years experience in a more mature market. So how difficult can it be? And I think that if you guys might have heard me say that before about people who are moving to the continent and how you need to humble yourself and just make sure that you come with an open mind and willingness to learn. I almost always say that when I give people advice about moving here, because although I had that from a high level perspective, in my career, I thought it'd be a smooth transition. And what I learned was that it was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. One is, I'm dealing with a whole different constituency of potential clients who I've never met before, right? So I'm a head of advertising, where in general, if you're a head of a department and you're selling to other companies, you're usually dealing with the heads of those departments, right? Because you've developed a relationship over your 16-year career. Well, all of my relationships were developed in the US, and they had nothing to do with what was happening here. So that was one, was really just adjusting to the culture. Sorry, no, not adjusting to the culture, adjusting to the market and getting an understanding of and learning and meeting the people that I was supposed to be pitching and prospecting, right? Two was the culture. I was so used to just saying like, hey, and then asking for the thing I need in an email, or hey, and just pitching somebody. And culturally here, people are a lot more into the idea of saying like, how are you doing? I hope all is well. These kinds of statements are a part of the communication. And whether that's on phone or on email. I also had to learn to pick up the phone more often. In the US, I picked up the phone within my company if I needed to. And if I was an emergency, I would call someone. But in general, I would message them, or I would text them if I knew them, or I would email them and expected an answer. But a lot of times people have a ton of stuff going on, and the best way to reach them is to call them directly if you can get their phone number. And so that was another major lesson that I learned in this role, and things that I didn't do well in the very beginning. And so, to be honest with you, I struggled a ton in this job, and I usually, like I said, I cruise into a new job, no problem, really easy. And it was by May of last year, I went to Sierra Leone. I'd only started in March of last year. I went to Sierra Leone and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is the right move for me. And I was still trying to figure it all out. I didn't want to mention all of that publicly because I still wasn't really clear on where I was and what I was thinking and how it was working out for me. And I was still, really like adjusting, but also kind of just figuring it all out. And so I didn't really talk about it much on the live. I just told you guys that I was working all hours of the day. And that's because I had to work extra hard just to have mediocre results. And so even though all those things are true, it is, and this is probably the hardest I've ever worked in my entire career at any for any one company. I obviously have this YouTube channel and other things I do outside of my anytime I have a day job. But as far as for a day job, this is probably the hardest I've ever had to work ever for this last year. And it really stretched me a lot. There was a lot that I learned, and I'm better off for it. And I've made some lifelong associates through networking through this role, and hopefully lifelong friends as well. But yeah, it was definitely a learning experience for sure. So yeah, I mean, those are the major things, and I'll leave it at that because I don't want to do too much talking about why I'm leaving that role. and I want to talk a little bit more about the role that I'm moving into. But before I do, there's a bunch of questions coming up. So I want to just address what everyone's saying so far. First, let me just see if there's anything on Instagram Live. Is anybody saying anything on Instagram Live right now before I go to the YouTube Live? I don't think anything on Instagram Live. Okay, cool. So let me just go to the YouTube and see what people are saying. So EO says not surprised. I guess that was about when I was talking about pay, right? Pay isn't so great. Golden One says, "What's your pros and cons about Ghana? What can we do as a nation to improve?" Okay, so Golden One, pros and cons about Ghana. That's an interesting question. So pros, the country pride. I love the country pride here. You know, but what I really like about, from at least my experience, is there's a country pride, but then there's also a willingness to work and live with diasporans. At least in my personal experience. To me, I think that there's a healthy mix of the two, and you can see why Ghana, at least from a public relations standpoint, is doing really well, right? In terms of like being voted the number one best place to come on vacation. There's so many people who came from the year of return that have moved here and lived here. Some people have never even left after the year of return, and that was in 2019. So I think these are some of the pros. The cons of Ghana are not just specific, are still here, and that is the very relaxed nature of the working class people and service workers. I think there's the idea of not taking much pride in what people do from time to time, depending on what it is, because they're not getting paid good enough. And so people don't always check for errors or double check their work. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of times there's micromanaging that has to be done, which is unfortunate because there's a very, very educated people here in Ghana. Some of the most educated people I've known, they have a better command of the English language than I do. I was saying that to somebody. They speak English better than I do. And for most people, it's either the second or third language. So they're very, very educated, very smart people. I just think in a lot of cases, the lax nature and sometimes not being paid well can lead to work that is not as good as the standards that it should be based on how educated and smart and how much ingenuity Ghanaians have, right? So that would be that was what I would say one of the cons are. And timeliness, right? This Ghana man time thing, we got to do away with that. We got to do away with that. Salon man time, we have it in Sierra Leone. Color people time in the US, black man time. We're the only race around the world that has our own time, and that's late. So we got to fix that. And we got to fix it everywhere, but it definitely needs to be fixed here as well. And so, so those are some of the cons. And so I think those are things that can be done to improve. I mean, I think Ghana's really good at doing business internationally, and they're doing business with people who would tend to be more on time, like the Euros, right? European people tend to be more on time, not everyone, not all Europe, because, some parts of Europe, French, as far as I understand, can be a little bit more lax. But in general, being more welcoming to the diaspora as Ghanaians are, I think when it comes to business, I would recommend just adopting that element of international business, still keeping the Ghana vibes, but just that ability to be on time. I really wish I could see more of that. All right, I hope that answers your question, Golden One. But those are the things that I think can be improved. It's not easy or practical to leave the US and working for regular pay and local pay in Africa. Yeah, I mean, look, so when I did it with a number of different things in mind. So let me walk you through the thought process that I had going to work for Jumia, right? So as many of you know, my goal here is to build a venture capital firm. You guys can look up venture capital, but basically what it is pooling people's money together to invest in companies. Right. I am a capitalist at heart, but I believe in social capitalism. So, doing good with your funds. All right. And so ideally, what I want to do is take funds from the US, especially diaspora funds, and focus it into African-based startups and companies here, so that we can, get more jobs and start to bring Africa back to its rightful place on the world stage. but also diversify people's income, especially as most people are becoming disenfranchised with being in the United States, but they're still, in order to advance, most of their finances are tied up in the United States, right? So, like me, myself, for instance, I was focused on trying to become more global, but until I was 31, everything I did was based in the US. And even though I saw like the US no longer being the number one world power and other people taking over as the world powers, and I see the US slowly losing its stance. And eventually you can see that you don't want to have all your investments and all of your focus in the United States. It still took me till I was 31, and I had been to Sierra Leone and I had family from West Africa, and I still took me a while to really get there. And so what I want to do is help other people who are looking to start to invest and really start to diversify their interests. I want to bring that here. So now that leads me back to why I took this job. Well, I've been working in advertising for 15 years. It's not a smooth transition into venture capital. So I met with a lot of different people who had a lot of opinions, but almost all of them said the same thing. In order for me to make the transition from advertising where I was into venture capital, one, I have to invest my own money. So that meant that at some point I needed to have the capital to do so. Two, I had to work on the continent for a company here to understand what it's like to be at a company here so that I can be able to translate that to outside investors, right? Because how can they know what to expect and what to understand from me who hasn't even worked at an organization? So that was this. And then the third thing was I needed to make sure that as I'm working, I'm building a network of really talented and smart people, but not just here, also in other parts of the continent. And so, just real quick, Queen Real Deal is asking, "Am I in Africa?" Yes, I'm in Ghana right now. And then Mr. Bounce Los Angeles, I'll get to you in a second. But EO, but I came here with that in mind, right? Knowing that I wanted to get in venture capital. I happen to know someone who knew the CEO of Jumia Ghana. And so when he mentioned to me he was going to make an introduction, I was really not sure if it made 100% sense for me to at least apply for the role. But I thought at least apply, get an offer, and then at that point in time, I can at least decide if this is what I want to do. And so I wrestled with it for a while because I negotiated my salary, and I tried to negotiate my salary, and they told me they were already stretching beyond what they could stretch. And to be frank, it was lower than any job I've ever had in my entire career in terms of my income, like my salary, right? Now I do have other revenue streams, right? Other income streams, of course. There was just no way that I was going to just be living off that income stream because I have a business, I employ people, so that was going to be important. But what used to be one of my major income streams now became one of my many income streams, like my other ones, where I can work less hours and generate the same income. Like I've worked as a contractor and done a contract for a month, and in that month's pay with 10 hours per week, so a total of 40 hours for the month, I still made with that contracting gig what I made in my salary at Jumia. But I still decided to take the role because of everything I told you before. I needed to work on the continent. I needed to build a network, um, and I needed to understand what it was like to be within a company here. And so I did it. So that was really why I did it. But I think if you're going to take a job like this on the continent, you have to do it with the next level or the next goal in mind, right? So, I mean, if you guys might not notice this about me, I'm very strategic, right? I think years in advance with everything that I do, right? So I'm like, and we'll look at my LinkedIn profile in a second. But I not only did I take this job at Jumia, but then I also started doing some advisory work with Google for startups. Google has an accelerator program here in Africa where they work with startups and help them grow. And so I was an advisor and a mentor for Google for startups. I also was an advisor and mentor for Mest, which is a company here in Ghana. And then I was also an advisor and startup advisor and mentor for Founders Institute as well. So I took on those three roles as an advisor and a mentor to be able to meet with other startups. And so that's what I'm doing, right? I was doing all of this to build on the next phase in my career, right? All right, let me read some more questions and comments before I get into the next phase. There's a lot coming up, and I don't want to miss you guys. You guys are mentioning things in real time. But let me just look at what some of you guys are saying. Yikes! And I'm in marketing and comms and can't imagine managing 13 clients. Yeah. So Alicia, yeah. So I was managing 13 clients by myself. I sold them and managed them, and I executed the campaigns as in a ad operations person. So like that means like manually inserting their advertising creatives in the advertising ad server and optimizing it throughout the campaign, 13 campaigns throughout the campaign. And at the end of each month, I actually then have to do a report on how the campaign went. And so I'm doing this every month for different clients while still going out and pitching new clients, while also, because of my background, being asked to do things from a global level for my company that has nothing to do with what I'm doing locally. So like the presentations that we do everywhere, whether you're in Egypt, in Nigeria, Algeria, right? They use presentations that I built and that I was asked to build because of my background. So I was doing things outside of Ghana on a more central level, even though my work was so crazy in Ghana. So yeah, it was challenging to say the least. And so yeah, it was tough. It was tough. All right, so EO says for those looking to move to Africa, it's either entrepreneurship or remote work, but even that has its challenges. Yeah, I mean that's one of the recommendations that came out of last week's. You can do customer service remotely, but definitely try to take on remote work, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a second for sure. Remote work is what I would recommend. Remote work is versus getting a job in Ghana. I can work from anywhere, so I'm considering a few months in Ghana. I'm in the tech industry and would like to explore the tech scene in Accra. So there is a tech scene here. There are a bunch of startups here. There's a bunch of stuff here. So definitely, if you can work from anywhere, why not? At least come here and visit, see what it's like. But yeah, I mean, remote work is where it's at. If you can, definitely do it. We'll talk about that in a bit. Golden One says there's a lack of urgency in Ghana. People don't move quickly. Yeah, I mean, that was one of my challenges. You know, if a client would ask me for something, I would never say I'll get it to you by the end of the day unless I myself am doing it. Usually what I would say is I'll like, for instance, if somebody, and I said this before, if I got a client who asked me for something today, um, Monday, March 21st, I would tell the client I would do my best to get it to you by end of day Wednesday, the 23rd. Because if I'm going to request it from someone else, they're also probably overworked and underpaid and also relaxed. So they move at their own speed. And so I need to incentivize them to get me what I need. And so I just manage expectations in that way. Pro Woman J says, hey, everybody just came in. Joe, you leaving? Oh, we'll get to that. We will get to that in just a second. All right, cool. All right, so let me answer this question from Mr. Bounce Los Angeles before I get into some of the rest of these questions. Oh, Diaspora Destination Africa group just joined. What's up, guys? Okay, so Mr. Bounce Los Angeles' question was this. Aside from Nigeria, which three African countries have the best economy? I don't know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I know that Egypt's up there, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, don't give me the line. Kenya for sure is up there. I don't know who else is up there. I know Kenya and Nigeria are up there. South Africa may be there. I honestly don't know. I mean, that's a quick Google. Top African countries by GDP. Okay, so South Africa, Algeria, Morocco, Ethiopia, Kenya. South Africa by far 861.93 billion in GDP. Algeria 532.57 billion in GDP. Morocco 302.77 billion in GDP. So there's a few countries, but it looks like a lot of North African countries. But then Kenya's on here, Angola, Ghana's here at 193 billion in terms of GDP. But then if you're talking about the richest Africans, I think Nigeria might be up there. Oh, sorry. My bad. I skipped from like 4 down to 8. So Egypt's number 1. Okay, so what I said. Okay, Egypt, Nigeria, South Africa. I was right. And then Algeria is number 4. in terms of GDP. So Nigeria has 1.414 trillion in gross domestic product, and Egypt has 1.38 trillion in gross domestic product. So, Mr. Bounce Los Angeles, I hope that answers your question. Okay. Flight to Film says, "Hey Joe, been binge watching your YouTube videos. Good stuff and inspiring. Thank you, thank you. I'm glad you find it inspiring." OD99 does put it out there that South Africa, Nigeria, and Egypt were the top. And then, okay, yeah, that was Pro Women's question. All right, so let's get into the new job, right? Because that's what you guys are here to hear. So number one, am I leaving Ghana? Not completely. So here's how things are changing for me. My residency, as you guys might remember, I showed you my resident card, is contingent upon my employment with Jumia, because they actually sponsored it. Here it is. My non-citizen ID card. I can't say all the numbers and stuff. But yeah, so this was contingent on me. Well, I think the ID card is fine, but the work visa that I had was contingent upon me working at Jumia. It lasted for 1 year, and I would have to renew, or as long as I worked at Jumia. Well, that's going to expire. I've been told that as on my last day, Human Resources will contact the person at Immigration and will let them know that I no longer work for Jumia. So what that means is that I will no longer be sponsored by them in terms of my visa. I can still stay here because I do have my ECOWAS passport. I do have Sierra Leone citizenship, so I can stay in Ghana mostly as a visitor and here as someone who's here like on not official business, but here visiting. And I can just pay like a monthly fee to the government every month, longer than I stay for my normal stamped visa amount of time that I'm here, right? So you just have to pay a fee for every month that you're here beyond the amount of time that you're supposed to be here. I hear it's like 35 Ghana cedis a month, something like that. But you know, you just have to pay it monthly. Also, okay, so what's my new role? So my new role is at a company called Freestar. Freestar basically helps websites advertise on their website. And my role, drum roll, my title is Vice President of Business Development, Demand, and Africa Expansion. What does that mean? That's a lot, a long title. But so there's two parts to it. There's the Vice President of Business Development, Demand, and then there's the Africa Expansion part. So we got some time. So let me take you back into the story. I'm a storyteller. So let me take you how I even got to this role and how this even came to be. So the Chief Growth Officer at this company that I'm going to work for, her and I worked together in two different capacities in the past. Back in 2013, we worked at a company called Smato, German-based company that was based in the U.S. Thanks, Mr. Bounce Los Angeles, thank you, everyone, for the congrats. Thank you. I ran one side of the business, she ran the other side of the business. She then left that job to work for a consulting firm that consults in that advertising space. And so she brought me on there to consult some of her clients, and that went really well. And so when she came to this company, she was head of business development, and she was, just trying to get her feet. But as she was, her and I would still catch up every once in a while. And I told her my thoughts about what I think that they should be doing as a business, right? And so this is back in June of 2020. And so she actually introduced me to the CEO back then. And he and I had an hour-long conversation about my different thoughts and ideas about the industry and things that they can be doing. And I thought it went really well. I thought I was about to get a consulting gig. It's the middle of the pandemic. I'm about to get another consulting gig. I'm excited. And he basically wrote me back and was just like, I don't see a fit. We don't really have anything for you right now. Appreciate the insights, but, just keep in touch. And so, when people say keep in touch, a lot of people don't. And I'm a person who lives off of cliches. Millions have been made off of cliches. So I'm going to give you one right now. Fortune is in the follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up. I work in sales. This is how it works. I kept following up with him as a CEO. I would follow up every couple of months, give him some more insights via email, and then I would follow up with her. She got promoted to chief growth officer, so now she makes a little bit more of the decisions. The company grew tremendously over 2020 into 2021. They almost doubled in revenue, and they made 2 acquisitions. One of those acquisitions made it so that it makes sense for me to come on there because what I did at Hulu, what I did before, the 2 companies before Hulu, is exactly what I can do for them. And so it was a perfect fit. But there were a few things that we had to work out. Number one, what was my title going to be? What was my responsibilities going to be? Number two, they wanted somebody in New York. And I wasn't planning to move to New York. So they wanted somebody in New York. So, and they weren't thinking about coming to Africa at all, right? It wasn't on their radar. So I had to do a pitch. I had to pitch myself as a consultant first, and then what I would do, I put together a 30, 60, 90-day game plan. This is the kind of thing that people don't do. So I'll tell you right now, when you do this kind of stuff, this automatically puts you in a realm far and above anybody else who's ever being considered for a role, or even if there isn't a role in place, how you can get one. I put a 30, 60, 90-day game plan together, very thorough game plan of how I was going to execute for them and what I was going to do. And they liked it, but then it was also the part about being here in Ghana, right? So I had to then pitch them on why they should expand the business that they have in the US to Africa. And so I put together a presentation called Why Africa? And I spoke about the GDP growing. I spoke about the number of people under 25 and the population, the remittance dollars, the fact that most websites or apps that are made in Africa still have usage in America and in the diaspora. And so people are missing out um, on monetizing that. And even from a business perspective, right? It is capitalism. So I had to make sure that it understood business-wise, it makes sense. And then a couple of other things came into play. The co-founder of the company knows somebody who I invested in his company through his sister. I invested in another person's company back in 2012, $4,000 of my own money and my sister's money. My sister also gave 1,000. So through hers, we invested in a company called Peeps Out. I also brought $100,000 in investments to that company. That guy happened to know the co-founder. They went golfing together. The co-founder asked him, what do you know about this guy, Joe? He says he knows you. The guy says, Joe made millions for Hulu, for Smarto, for OpenX. Give him whatever he wants. So while we're in the middle of like this negotiation and trying to figure out what my role is going to be and if I was going to come on board full time, the co-founder hears from someone that he trusts that they should give me whatever I ask for. And so, which was great, obviously, because I always say it's not who knows, it's not what you know, and it's not just who you know, it's who knows what you do and what you do well, and who's willing to speak about that on your behalf when you're not around. And this is goodwill that goes all the way back to 2012. And then also having having the chief growth officer be somebody that I worked with on a number of occasions previously, then the fortunes in the follow-up, the constant follow-ups throughout the last couple of years. But we still have this dilemma. I'm in Ghana. They want somebody in New York. But now they can start to justify some things because people that they know, not just what I'm pitching to them, but people that they know and they trust are saying, work with this guy. Then they acquired a company in England, which means that I can still work on GMT time zone. Ghana is on the same time zone as England. So I can now work within the same time zone too. So everything was starting to come together. They did say, however, that I would need to meet with clients all around the world, including in the US, in New York, potentially in LA, etc. So what does that mean? I will have to be in New York at least once a quarter. So once every 3 months, I will be in New York. for about 30 days. So am I leaving Ghana? Not technically, but will I be spending a lot more time in other places? Yes. For instance, I will be outside of Ghana almost all of April and almost all of May, outside of Ghana all of July and the second half of June, outside of Ghana for all of October, and we still haven't figured out the rest of my travel for the rest of the year. So I'll be spending a lot of time in a lot of different places. But my home base will still be here in Ghana. And then, of course, I'm building a secondary home base in Sierra Leone right now as we speak, as you all know. But in the end, we came to an agreement on the compensation structure where, I'm not even going to talk about what the numbers are, obviously, for obvious reasons. But we came up with a compensation structure that made sense. And that also we agreed that I would be in New York once a quarter. I'll be going to France this year, London this year, and then I'm going to LA as well. So I'll be in a bunch of different places, but I will be able to be based here, working on England time zone as long as I'm not traveling for work. And so yeah, that's basically what it is. That's what it comes down to. But don't think it just happened out of nowhere. When people ask me about how I got my job at Jumia so fast when I first got here, I tell you guys all the time, it's not as if I didn't do the work required to make people think that it was worth hiring me in that short amount of time or bringing me onto an organization and allowing me to work from Ghana, right? That means that I've had to generate revenue for organizations like, the chief growth officer. Her and I worked together at a company where I grew revenue from 7 million to 25 million in 5 quarters, right? When I was at Hulu, I was responsible for building products and go-to-market strategy for things that went from 30 million to 350 million, right? So because I was able to do that, I have people who can vouch for it, and I can articulate that well. It makes it easy for a company to decide to onboard me or to hire me, right? But all of that comes from spending like $80,000 in courses to develop myself, right? So I invested in myself. I took the courses and I applied what I learned in those courses in my day-to-day life, including in my job, right? And so that allowed me to be able to bring that much more value to these organizations. So when I'm going to my next organization and I'm negotiating the fact that I want to work from Ghana and and I want this VP title and all these other things, it's something that they'd be willing to do because of all that work, right? So I just want to be very clear. There was a lot of work that I've done over the last 15 years to allow me to be able to work out a situation like this. Okay, just real quick through what everyone's saying. Come through promotion. Yeah, for sure. Fortune's in the follow-up. Cool saying. Totally using it. Yes, definitely use Fortune in the follow-up. Fortune's in the follow-up. Well done, Joe. Super inspired. Thank you. I hope I do inspire. Cass says, awesome. Thank you. Miss P says, that sounds exciting. Good for you, Joe. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bounce Los Angeles. Yes, you will see me in LA. I got to come to that boxing gym. I'll be in LA the first week in July. Okay, so before I continue on with the story, I do want to address some more of the comments and stuff. So let me just do that really quickly. I know that you guys are writing me in real time, and sometimes I just start talking and talking and talking. And so I need to go back and read some of what you're saying. Okay, so Mr. Bounce Los Angeles says, congrats on becoming a VP. Thank you. Going back a little. Okay, so Mohammed If says, how's your lifestyle and culture change affect your decision to move from one country to another? Okay. So for me, for instance, Ghana right now is my home. It's my home base. I'm building a house in Sierra Leone because I am Sierra Leonean descent anyway, at least the last 100 years of my family history. A whole nother conversation for another time. So for me, right, I mean, that's big for me. One is having a place in Sierra Leone, which I'm building right now, and also having a place in Ghana right now, eventually buying property in Ghana as well. But I still haven't been to Nigeria as of yet. So that's the plan for the first couple of weeks in April, or maybe the second couple of weeks in April. I plan to be in Nigeria. So I'll be shooting some content there. Got lots to catch you up on and lots to shoot while I'm there. So I'm going to see how much I can get done while I'm there. I'm going to start planning that trip in the next week. So I'll be in Nigeria. And so the decisions on where I stay and where I live is solely based on the future, right? Prospects for the future. Like I said, I want to be investing in startups. Nairobi is a great place for it. Cape Town is another great place for it. Unfortunately, they're so far away from Sierra Leone. I need to be able to fly back and forth to Sierra Leone within a 4 hour time span. And so that's why Ghana, maybe some time in Nigeria makes sense until the house is built in Sierra Leone before I can start doing more travel and staying in other parts of the continent for extended periods of time, even potentially making that place a home. But for right now, Ghana is definitely my home. I don't see myself moving anywhere anytime soon. But that's how I decide where I spend my time is based on really right now it's in proximity to Sierra Leone because I'm building a house there and that's my number one priority. But there are other things that I'm thinking about in other places, mostly in Anglophone West Africa. But I may also be going to places in Francophone West Africa, Senegal, Ivory Coast. I know some people there now. So I may be going and seeing what life is like there. This is Abena says hi. What's up, Abena? Your gifts will make room amongst kings outstanding. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Please translate that for me. I think it's something good, but I don't totally get it. So Mr. Bounce Los Angeles says, see me in LA. Of course, I'll see you in LA. Bunch of people joining. All right, cool. Any questions on anything I mentioned so far? Let me see what we got on on YouTube Live now. iTuber said, just missed it. What's the news? Oh man, you just missed it. You got to go watch it. You got to go back and watch the replay. But I'm leaving Jumia, and I'll be spending a lot of time outside of Ghana. Basically, is what is to sum it all up. I'm VP of Business Development, Demand, and Africa Expansion at a company called Freestar. So that's the quick synopsis. But go back and watch the whole thing. I talked to the whole story of how I got to how this all came to be. Nothing good comes easily, that's for sure. Lee says, congratulations. I'm sincerely happy for you. Thank you. iTuber says, we need to dig into that a little. Sierra Leone, at least for the last 100 years anyways. Oh, yeah. So I am half, okay, so let me just quickly say this and then we'll get back to what we're talking about today. So the reason why I say that is because I am half Creole. Like that is one tribe, my mother's tribe, right? The Creole tribe is a mixture of a bunch of different people from other parts of West Africa who had come back to Sierra Leone in the late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, from Nova Scotia, right? And they founded Freetown. And so those may not be Sierra Leonean. I mean, a lot of them were more likely to be Nigerian and Ghanaian than they were Sierra Leonean. So that is why I say the last 100 years or so, because my mom's side of the family isn't necessarily told where they're actually from, even though they've been in Sierra Leone for the last 100 years or so. And then my dad's side of the family, my dad's mom is actually from Guinea. My dad's dad seems to have been from Sierra Leone over an extended period of time. But yeah, so there's a chance that 1/4 of me is Sierra Leone or half of me is Sierra Leone. I'm not even sure. But that's what I mean by the last 100 years. While A says hit you holla when you hit up London. Yeah, so Mariama Forbes is in London. I think her and I are going to overlap in London. So what my goal is see if we can try to if we can try to do like a group event for those who are subscribers to meet up with us while we're in London. Her and I have spoken about that briefly, but I'd love to do that. So let's see if we can get that done for all the UK people. So Black Nation Live says, any plans of visiting the UK? Would love to talk with you. Congrats on your continued development. Yes, so that's what I was just referring to. So I'll be in the UK. Excuse me. I'll be in the UK in June. I'll be in the UK, middle of June. So if you'll be there, we'll have to for sure put together an event. I know a couple people in the UK, as a matter of fact. So yeah, we'll have to put together an event for you guys to come and do like a little meet and greet with a group of people. While A just says, I just got back from Senegal. Use an amazing English speaking guide. Highly recommend. Will DM you his deets. Yeah, because I do plan to go to Senegal at some point. I don't speak any French. All I know how to say is parlez-vous anglais, which means do you speak English? Wait, no. Wait, is it parlez-vous anglais? Is it parlez-vous? Yeah, right? Somebody tell me if I'm saying it right. He said, I'll be West for sure. Will you still be able to work from Africa? I will be able to work from Africa. I do talk about that as well earlier in the live. Okay. This is about my Sierra Leonean heritage, saying it's very similar to Liberians. Okay. So yeah, the company is called Freestar. That is the company name that I am joining. Let me just put the link to the company on, let's see. And the cool thing about this job is I didn't really technically have to apply. Like I didn't have to actually go through like an application process. I didn't have to interview. It was like because I've been speaking to the CEO for so long, I knew the chief growth officer already. I had a conversation as a contractor with the CFO and SVP of business development. And when I spoke to the two of them, it was just kind of a conversation, but through that discussion, it almost acted as an interview and it led to me easily getting the role. So yeah, that was how that worked out. So here's the link. Um, I'm putting it in the chat for the company. Obviously, don't go to the link now. You're here on the live. Stay here. But yeah, after the live is over, I'm gonna put it all in the description. I'll put all of that stuff in the description so you know more about the company. And then you can go to my LinkedIn profile for more if you want to know more about what the company does. Um, Okay, so a couple things really quickly before I get back into the story. So iTuber says the thing they say about millennials is that we job hop too much, but whatever, keep rising, my guy. Yeah, I mean, so look, the longest I've ever been at one company is 4 years, and that was at Hulu. I was there for 4 years, from 2016, January 2016 to, or actually February 2016 to right at like February 2020. And the thing about jobs is, the idea of job loyalty used to come when you would get a pension. You get, they'd give you a Rolex, a pension. You'd walk away with a retirement package after leaving an organization. You gave them your all, they gave you their all. In the late 80s, what started happening with organizations is they started focusing on profits over people, right? So what that means is the number one constituency is their investors, who's putting money into the company because they need to make them happy. The number two constituency is their customers because the customers pay them for whatever product or service they offer. And then the third and last group is their employees. Now, it took Generation X, all of the 90s, and millennials, the 2000s, to start realizing that companies are not going to be loyal to you. They have to make decisions based on what makes sense for their bottom line, right? There's no longer, first of all, pensions. People don't even know what pensions are. Like, there's only like a couple industries that offer pensions now. Because why would a company in this capitalistic society, and I don't agree with this, but this is how it is, why would a company in this society give you money after you leave? It doesn't make, right? So they don't, which is why that's gone. So, of course, millennials have decided to move on and much more frequently and much more rapidly than any generations before us because there is no loyalty from the company to the employee. So, why would there be loyalty from the employee to the company? And I think we're also understanding that we are our own companies, we are our own brands, and we need to develop ourselves and move through our careers in the best way that works for us. Just like a company is going to hire you in their best interest as well. And they're going to also make decisions about firing you in their best interest. So that is why I usually say sometimes you have to move on to move up because not every company is going to pay you what they're paying new employees with similar backgrounds or promote you to the role that you should be in because they know you as the person who they met you as or who they brought you in as, right? And so that's always a challenge. So sometimes you have to move on to move up. Yes, exactly. He says, congrats again. Thank you. The best way to get a pay raise is switch companies. EO says, congrats, you're definitely on the right path. Thank you. Miss P says, I'll get a pension. I've been at my job for 19 years. So yeah, it depends on what industry you're in, right? So like oil and gas, healthcare industry sometimes, um, guns, cigarettes, a lot of those kinds of companies, the ones that make extreme amounts of money, who are also a lot of times certain industries that I don't know, Miss P, what industry you work in, but sometimes industries that are very difficult to work in or that make extreme amounts of money do offer pensions, right? So like oil and gas, I think a lot of cigarette companies still do because they make extreme amounts of money, but also they have to keep people engaged and involved and wanting to stay there over extended periods of time. And so that does happen a lot, but it's in those industries. But that is a small subset of the major industries that are out there, and most just don't pay these anymore. And that's just unfortunate, regardless of how long you've been there. And most companies that are around today weren't even around 20 years ago, right? So many companies are within the last 15, 20 years, especially the biggest one. So yeah, so that's a challenge these days in terms of companies paying pensions and whatnot. Okay, one more thing that I'm going to read, and I'm going to get back into the story of where we are and what's going on. Okay. Light to Film says, hey, I want to set up roots in Ghana outside of my parents, but I'm not sure what business field would be a good fit. Any advice to narrowing down my options? Well, first, there's two things. One, it always makes sense to do what you do best, what you already know, and come and do that. I don't know what that is, but that's usually what I would recommend. But before you even do that, you need to visit first. Just get an idea of what the landscape looks like. You need to know how big the market size is and who your customers are going to be and how your customers will react to what you're doing, right? So you need to come here, at least visit a few times, get out on your own, see people in that sector, talk to different people, learn about it before you start any business. That's my recommendation. But ideally, you do a little bit of both before you get here, right? Establish it, get some things going before you come here so that way it's a smooth landing and you just come here and just continue to move forward instead of trying to figure it out when you get here. So that's definitely my recommendation. What's up, Mikkel? I said Mikkel. Makia, sorry. Okay, so all right, so let's get back to the story, right? So 2 years, fortunate in the follow up, right? We agree. I pitched them on Africa expansion. They agreed to that, which was great. And so where we are now is I'm onboarded and I am figuring it out, right? So I've been doing a lot of meetings. This company is actually a company that has been work from home since its inception. So I'm never expected to necessarily go into an office, which is why it also works out that I can work from here because they don't have an office necessarily. So okay, government also does pension. MSP works for government, so she works at City Hall, which makes sense. Yeah, so government does often offer pension. It's one of that's the other uh, the public sector, I guess is what you call it. Yeah, working with governments definitely is a way. Okay, so Golden One says, what's your original background? Are you asking country of origin? Because if it's that, then it's both my parents are from Sierra Leone. As I mentioned, half of my mom's side of the family, if I'm not mistaken, maybe both, I'm not really even sure, I'm still learning, is Creole tribe. So, and I'm somebody told me somewhere along the way there's Liberia in there somewhere, and so it's all confusing to me. I'm not really very clear on it. I'm still working out a family tree and family origin. My dad's side of the family is technically Sierra Leonean. However, like I mentioned, his mother is from Guinea. His father was so from both. Um, Miss P, oh, Pro Woman is just saying, Miss P, figured you worked a government job. Nice work. One can get it. Pro Woman says, yes, I'm grateful for it. Yeah. But yeah, so okay, so let's get back to this. So we agreed that I would stay in New York once a quarter. So basically 4 months out of the year, I'll be in New York. Other months, I will be traveling to Europe and also other parts of the world as well. As the world starts opening up and I have more and more events that I have to go to where I represent Freestar in my official capacity as the VP. And so as a VP, there's multiple within the organization. So that is where I stand today, and that's the role that I have. And so I have to do a lot in this role. There's a lot of work ahead of me for sure, but I'm not scared of work. I'm not afraid of work, as you guys know. The work is just beginning, and so I'm really excited about the role, though, and I'm really excited to be traveling again, sponsored by my employer. I did that back in 2014, 2015. I traveled to Italy, France, England, Spain. Um, sorry, not Italy, France, England, and Spain. And so I'm looking forward to at least going to England and France again this year. So more to come on that. I may even go to South Africa. It depends, and maybe go in some other places too. I'm still trying to work that out right now. But yeah, so I'll be traveling around, doing remote work. All right, we talked about a lot, and I gave you the whole story. We're at an hour. Are there any questions for me about my job, my responsibilities? Did I cover everything for you? Does it all make sense? Let me know. Any questions for me before we go? You know, last week we did a 3 hour and 22-minute live with Kenya and Masa. It upset somebody on the live. Apparently, it made them sick. What Masa was saying and what Kenya was saying. So Kenya was saying. Um, so that was interesting. So if you guys haven't seen that, go back and watch that live. That where the views on that are starting to go up. I think people are sharing it. My mother watched some of the lives. She had some interesting thoughts about it. So you guys definitely want to go back and watch it. Okay, so Queen Real Deal says, how do you keep it all together? Yeah, that's a great question. How do I keep it all together? You know, honestly, you know, I'm a multitasker by nature, but I have very, very big goals, very big goals and dreams about what I want to do before it's all said and done, right? And so, in order to achieve those goals, I have to do more than the ordinary. You know, you have to be extraordinary if you want to even achieve ordinary goals, right? So, if you think about different people who've achieved the things that we all want to achieve, you have to see how they approach what they do. You know, for me, for a long time in my early days, I wanted to work in the music industry, right? So I looked at Jay-Z, I looked at Diddy. For instance, Diddy, when he was 19, 18, 19, he was going to Howard University, and 2 or 3 days out of the week, he would take a train from DC to New York for an unpaid internship at Uptown Records while he was going to school at Howard in DC. Now, he dropped out after 2 years because he ended up going on tour with Jodeci and Mary J. Blige and Heavy D and all these other people. But he was applying that. So when I was in college, you know what I did? I did 3 internships at one time because everybody else I knew was doing 2 internships. So I had a paid internship at Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I was interning for a manager of an artist that was signed to Atlantic Records, and then I was interning for a manager. I don't know if you guys know who Melissa Ford is, but I was interning for Melissa Ford, her manager, while she was getting out of the music video business and moving on. And so from that age, I approached everything with that level of vigor, right? Because I always had big dreams and goals. And so that was me at 21. And so, it went through ebbs and flows, but by the time I was 29, I had that same level of focus, and I haven't looked back since. So for me, it's how I've decided to live my life. It's not easy because there's a lot of grays in my beard. I don't know if you guys can see them. Maybe you can, or maybe you can't. I don't know. But it does equal some stress from time to time. It does make some challenges in your personal life. You do have to make some sacrifice. It is very difficult to do, to have the level of output that I do. But as I've said before, and I'll say it again, millions have been made off of cliches, and here's one of them. I will do now what others won't, so I can have later what others can't. I've been saying that since 2010, and it pays dividend. It really does. Okay, another question. Queen Real Deal says, what do you recommend for someone interested in Ghana or Africa to relocate? So So I recommend one, making sure you have a source of income before you move, for sure. Also, come with an open mind. Also, exercise patience. Patience is a virtue here. You're gonna have to be patient. And also, do as much research as you can before you come, because things don't work here the way they work in the U.S. For instance, like everything's unlimited, like unlimited internet, unlimited phone service. That's not how it works here, right? So you have to learn how those things work. There are other parts of culture that are different too, like paying with mobile money. So learning how to use mobile money and things like that. I have videos on some of this stuff. But like you're just gonna have to do some research, but visit here first and visit for an extended period of time if possible. Like don't do what I did, where I only came for like 4 days um, during the year of return, and I thought that's what life in Ghana is like, because it's not. I mean, I kind of had an idea it's not like that, but still, I had no real idea what I was stepping into, and so that's part of the reason why I have this channel so that you guys can see what it's like to move here before you make that decision. But yeah, I would say visit first for sure, as much as you can, and for as long as you can, um, so you get a really good idea of what life would be like here. I hope that helped. Um, so always A1 says, will I have more support in my new role as well? Absolutely. But I won't have as much responsibility. So that's the good news is I will have much more support, much less responsibility, but I'll likely also have the finances to be able to cover some of the other things like editing, like hiring an intern so that they can manage my live for me. Like right now I do all of this by myself, right? I'm on Instagram Live, I'm on YouTube Live, I'm on Facebook Live, on 2 different Facebook channels, full Facebook pages. I employ a couple people, but they don't do my lives with me, right? So I don't know if you guys noticed, but I always look down and look up. That's because I'm on 2 different devices going live at the same time. And so, yeah, I mean, I will say it's having the new role that I have will give me more support in all of these things that I do, so I can put out more content for you all. Because that's really why I do all of what I'm doing here is for y'all. And so yeah, I mean that's the ideal scenario, and it's happening. Okay. Queen Real Deal says, hold on, am I missing anything? Okay, she's sorry. I'm trying to scroll through here. Queen Real Deal says it would be the second phase of my life. I've already raised a family and not 35 anymore. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for sure, it's who's Queen Real Deal? Do I know you personally? Let me know if I do. I can't see you because the picture's so small. Um, Well, yeah. So yeah, if you've already raised a family and you're moving here, then that's a little bit easier. Because then I don't know if you have any dependents. So that's the hardest thing if you have dependents. Me myself, I technically sort of did, but not really. Like I helped out, but I didn't have any dependents. Like that. Let's see what else we got. Any other questions? Queen Real Deal said you can't see any gray. Yeah, that might just be the light because there's definitely some grays in there. Definitely some grays in there. I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. They're in there. They're in there. People tell me all the time they can see it. People used to think I dyed my hair. All right, cool. So let me go through some of the YouTube questions and comments. So Miss P says no questions, but I'm happy for you. Good luck with everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Homewoman J says we will all the travel get to be too much? It won't be. So I was in a job in 2014, which really opened my eyes to the rest of the world because I had only been to Sierra Leone once, and I had been on a couple of cruises by that point in time. I had to Belize for like an hour. I hadn't even been to Cuba yet by that point in time. So yeah, I hadn't really tried. I hadn't even gone to DR or Jamaica yet. Yeah, so like all this stuff I've done since, and I will tell you that travel to me is the most exciting. It's the most exciting thing to do. I'm really big on experiences. Not to mention, I think it'd be great for content, but like even beyond all that, right? Like the experience of getting to see someone else's culture, how they live, their history. I love all of that. That gives that like is what invigorates me. So now European travel hasn't always been on the top of my list of things to do. I really want to do more Africa travel, but going to London will be great because I know a bunch of people there. I know a bunch of London Sierra Leoneans living in London. And then also I have family that's there too, who I hardly ever get to see. And then I'll be able to go to Cannes, whatever, you know, where the Cannes Film Festival is. I'm going to an event right after that. And so I'll be in Cannes, France. So that'll be cool. That should be an experience. I'm looking forward to that. Excuse me. So I don't think it'll be too much. No, I'm excited about really getting to, you know, experience this you know, the rest of the world again. Hopefully post pandemic, things will continue to open up. All right, cool. So Lady Keen says, I'm so happy for you. Let me know what the time frame you are in New York this summer. I'll try to meet up with you. We can hang out, eat great food in Harlem. I was planning on going to London. Yeah, so what I want to do is I want to do like get-togethers in every city that I'm in, right? For any of my subscribers. So I'll be in LA, I'll be in New York, and I'll be in London. So if any of you guys are in those places, all right, so let me tell you when I'll be, so you know. Um, so I'll be in LA first week of July. First week of July, I'll be in LA. So pencil it in on your calendars, however you do it. First week of July, I'm in LA. The rest of July, I'm in New York. But even before that, I forgot. The second week of June, I'll be in London. Hold on, let me see. Let me tell you right now. I don't know what the date is. Now it's the 12th. The 12th of June. No, sorry. June 14th through the 15th. All right, is this event that I'm going to in London. So I'll probably get to London by around like the 7th or something like that. So I can spend like a week there. So we'll set something up for that week while I'm in London. So I can like meet everyone who's in London. If you guys are down to come meet up in person, we could do like a meet and greet in person in London. And then New York, I will be there. Sorry, then LA, which will be the first week in July, maybe the last week in June, first week in July, but for sure the first week in July I'll be in LA. And then the end of July, I'll be in New York. I'll be in New York all the rest of July. So I'm really looking forward for that. And then I'm back in New York in October again. All right. So while A says, how do you close the door on a past dream that hasn't worked out, especially if you spend so much time on it, finding it difficult? Yeah, this is a great question. Let me tell you guys something. I spent 8 years working on a dream. 8 years. Eight. Eight. Think about that. 8 years. But I had to keep it real with myself. I said, I need to wake up from this dream. It's been 8 years. Nothing's happened. And not everybody you can say that for, because if they're making progress towards a goal, then you should keep going. But I wasn't making any progress, which meant that it wasn't a real goal. It was just an idea. And the whole thing was what I was doing, which I didn't realize I was doing, was I was putting off the inevitable. I was saying, I'm going to build this company. It's going to be the Spotify for TV, right? It's going to be the Spotify for TV. People can share TV shows. You can get one login to everything, Netflix, Hulu. I had this whole idea. It's going to make TV amazing. And I was like, this is the one thing that's missing. I'm going to do this. And I had to come to the realization that after 8 years, I hadn't really made any real progress. So that means that I was not that passionate about it. And there was a couple other things that really led me to that belief system and that thought process. One, I needed to find a technical co-founder to actually build the product. And through 8 years, I never found that technical co-founder. So how serious was I really, right? Number one. Number two, I took a job at Hulu so that I could see what it's like to work at a company that literally does connected TV, so that I can maybe potentially actually happened was I learned how difficult it was. And I realized that I started seeing that as a challenge that I wasn't sure I could overcome, which meant that I wasn't passionate enough about it. And then three, randomly, I listened to a podcast with Ashton Kutcher, of all people. I don't know if you guys know this, but Ashton Kutcher is a very prolific investor, Uber, Airbnb, a bunch of stuff, right? He's friends with other investors in Silicon Valley, so he invested in a bunch of big companies, which is why you haven't seen him act in forever. He doesn't need to act anymore. He makes all his money from his investment. And so one of the things he said is when he invested in Uber, he remembers meeting this guy Travis Kalanick, who was who was running Uber at the time. And he said the level of passion that guy had for solving the taxi problem, something that he didn't even know was a problem, was something he just had to invest in. He said the guy was so passionate about taxi, which to me sounds crazy, but the guy was super passionate about taxi. And I thought about it myself. Am I so passionate that Ashton Kutcher would want to give me money for this TV idea? Clearly, I'm not. I'm passionate about life and I'm passionate about other things, especially investing in Africa, which you can hear. It comes through in my voice. I'm doing a YouTube channel. Like I'm making inroads towards meeting this goal. It's clear that this is the right kind of goal for me. At that time, I thought that was, and it really wasn't. And so I think for you, you have to determine, are you really interested, right? Or are you committed? Right? I think that that's the two different things you have to think about when it comes to following a passion and a goal, right? You know, there are a lot of people interested in a lot of things, right? They'll start working on it, they'll work on PowerPoints, they'll write it down, they'll tell their friends about it, but are you committed to that goal, right? Are you going to spend every day of your life, every waking hour outside of your job, pushing it forward? And if you are you seeing inroads and results? Are you meeting the people that you need to? Are you taking the courses that you need to? Your passion will lead you to finding a path to making it happen. If you don't see that happening, that is the conversation you need to have with yourself. And only you can have that conversation with yourself. Nobody else can. And so I sat down with myself and I had to keep a real moment. And I talked to myself as if I was talking to someone else. And I was like, if you were Ashton Kutcher, would you invest in this business? 8 years and nothing to show for it but a PowerPoint? No. So that was how I decided to step away from it. It was the best thing I ever did because once I was done that and I was at Hulu, I could open my mind to new things, which led to 5.5 years later, where we are now. Flight to Film says he will be on the lookout for the NYC event. Nice. Happy to hear it. All right, cool. The young Sierra Leonean says, good luck in the new role. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Brown Coat Blue said, just got in. What's the biggest announcements? Oh, man, you missed it. You missed it, Brown Coat Blue. Leaving my job at Jumia, taking a job based in the U.S., but I will be staying in Ghana as my home base, but I will be spending about a quarter of the year in other places, other countries, mainly New York and the U.S., sometimes L.A., but yeah. I also mentioned that I'll be doing meetups with subscribers. So London, I'm going to do one second week in June. LA, I'll do one first week in July. And New York, I'll do one sometime towards the end of July. Miss P said, I'll try to get to New York meet and greet. I'll keep you posted when I'm doing it. Give you guys plenty of time to be able to come. I won't do like the day before thing like the big YouTubers do. You know, I mean, look, it's not that many subscribers, right? So there'll be more of like a intimate meet and greet. It's not like I'm gonna need to like have an auditorium. Well, let's hope. If this thing grows, maybe I will. But for right now, it could be just at like, you know, Prospect Park or something. So, but we'll figure it out. You know, we'll figure it out. LA, I got some ideas, and New York, I got some ideas. So we can definitely make it happen. Okay, cool. I got through a lot of questions and comments. We're now an hour. How much time are we in? It's been an hour and 19 minutes so far. Any more questions, comments, concerns, ideas? Please let me know. I'm wide open to ideas. Let me drink some water. No? I'll give it a little bit for more questions. I know there's a delay. So I'll answer more questions if you need it. What else can I say? Oh, okay, so I'll give you guys an update on the house. I do have a video coming out this week at some point. Don't hold me to the day. Just be on the lookout for it. The whole last month, and the progress that's being made on the house, the caretakers' quarters, or where my caretakers are going to live. That is, we have a roof on it now. We got doors and windows coming. Plumbing's about to start. Electricity's coming. I mean, this place will be ready by the time I leave at the end of May. So there's a bunch of stuff that I'm ready to show you guys soon. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so DI Empress Carrie Ann says, I want to visit Ghana, solo travel, ideas on hotels, tours, etc. All depending on your budget. There's a lot of different Airbnbs here that you can stay in. I would definitely recommend a 5-star location, somebody who's a super host, because that indicates that they do a lot of hosting and people give them a positive reviews. So I would definitely look for a super host for sure. And that's probably the best thing you can do, but it's all dependent on your budget. That'd be the first thing I would say. Tours, okay. So a couple. So there's a guy, depends on your budget. There's a guy who does Big Ben tours. I did all my tours with him, but they were expensive. They weren't cheap, very expensive, but he was good. He's on Travelocity or one of these sites. If you just go to any of if you looked at my video where I went to the zoo, if you look at my video where I went to the wildlife reserve, Ben from Big Ben Tours, his information is in there. So just look those up. He was the one who took us there, and we did the tours with him. And the video where I'm holding a snake, which is crazy. Or we went to Wildlife Reserve a little bit north. Went to Cape Coast Castle. You want to go to the slave castles for sure. There are also many places to go outside of a crowd, right? So depending on how long you're staying here, you can go to Kumasi, you can go to Tamale, like north places, which I don't even know I don't know everything, but you want to go north. There's a lot of places north that you could go to. And all the Ghanaians on here, definitely start putting in your thoughts and ideas for places that the Empress can go, because I don't want to be just throwing out stuff I don't know, but you guys definitely make sure you give some insight into where she can go. Okay, cool. Flight to Film asked, do you have a video discussing the biggest business mistakes to avoid in Ghana? I do not, actually. I do not have a video on that. That's probably a video I would do with someone who's an investor here, who's been through that experience, but that's a good point. I'm going to make a note of that. What was it? The biggest business mistakes to avoid in Ghana. Good one. You just gave me a good topic for video. This is why I like the lives. You guys come with good questions and good topics. Okay, so any other questions before we go? Because it is 10:24, and I do have a full day ahead of me tomorrow, and I still got some work to do tonight. Because as you know, I'm always working. All right, cool. The Empress Carrie Ann is Jamaican. I knew a Carrie Ann that was Jamaican actually from college. Carrie Ann, long time. Like I know it's not you, but she was Jamaican. Really cool girl, Carrie Ann. Long time since I wonder what she's up to these days. Yeah, it was a real big West Indian contingent at my university. I went to Pace University. Well, that's where I ended up. I went to 3 different universities. Didn't get it right on the first 2 tries. But in the end, I still graduated. First of all, I just love this name. Wait, what is it? Fictitious just joined. Shout out to you. Ghana is my roots. A lot of Jamaicans are of Ghanaian descent. That's what I hear. That's what I understand. Culturally, they're very similar. There's a lot of Rastas here. I know a guy named High Spirits. He likes to say Ja Rastafari all the time. So very familiar with. It's definitely a Very strong connection between the two countries. All right, cool. Anything else, guys, before we go? Anything else? I want to answer all your questions before I go. You know what ends up happening? Every time I go to exit out of the live, I click on end broadcast, and then there's one last question that I don't get to. So let me know if you guys have any questions now before I bring this thing to an end. Happy to answer any of your questions as long as you need me to. But if not, if I don't see next, let's say 10 seconds, we'll bring this thing to a close. So no questions on I guess I answered all of them, right? On the job, where I'll be staying, what I'll be doing. Okay. So Kofi Mensah asked business opportunities in Ghana. That's a tough one. I was just saying this earlier. You have to, unfortunately, you're going to have to come here to determine that, what you're good at. You can also start a new business here. That can also be done, right? But I think it's going to be contingent on understanding the marketplace, who's here, and what the demand is for what it is that you want to do, and who your target audience is. So I always recommend coming here because I can give you plenty of ideas, but until you're here and you're on the ground and see what work is like and see what the people are like and what it might be like. Well, I mean, Kofi Mensah, that's obviously a Ghanaian name. So I don't know if you have spent a lot of time here or if you're actually living here now. But I would definitely say do your research in anything that you're looking at. Because I would say don't start any business you're not going to be passionate about, because businesses are difficult, very difficult, and they're also difficult here. If not harder, they're still just as difficult, if not harder here. So you have to be very passionate about it, and you have to be able to hire the right staff and all of that to be able to get through all the challenges that you're gonna inevitably face. That'll be what I would say is the most important is having a passion for what it is that you do. You're in Toronto. Got it. Yeah, but definitely visit first. And just see what's here. Get some feet on the ground. Just get a feeling for how things are. If you can stay here for a month or longer, that's ideal because that really gives you a real feel for the country, or at least the city of Accra. You can't really get the full feeling of a city even in a month's time, but like if you come here with a deliberate goal and you're focused on that, you'll be able to at least delve deeper into it and get a better understanding of what makes the most sense for you. Good question. The Empress Carrie Ann says, show architecture in your videos of Ghana. I will. I actually have. I used to do like on my way to places, show videos as I'm driving along. To be honest with you, with the limited time I've had, I just like get right to the content and put it out. Even in that case, I've only put out one video per month besides my lives the last 2 months. So we need to change that, and more to come on that too. But yeah, more to come. There will definitely be more architecture in my video. Black Nation Live is asking, do I conduct private consultations? I do, technically. I do. I haven't had anybody follow through with it, technically. It's come up on these lives before, but nobody's actually asked to do a real one-on-one consultation session. Shoot me an email. You can't do it at support@authenticafrican.com or contact@authenticafrican.com because that no longer is available at the moment. Everything on the e-commerce store is paused right now until the end of this month. I'm bringing everything back, revamping it with a bunch of different things, but as of right now, it's all paused, on hold. However, the email you can email is authenticafricanlife@gmail.com. That's the email associated with the YouTube channel. So you can email there and be happy to talk to you more about what a private consultation might look like. The Empress Carrie Ann says, I love architecture, as do I. I'm a big fan of architecture. All around the world, really. Yeah. Egypt has some dope architecture. Some of those old buildings. There you go. All right, cool. Guys, you're welcome. Black Nation Live. It has been a pleasure, always is. You guys are always a very engaged group, and I appreciate you all. Thanks for joining. And as always, if you like this content, Make sure you like, comment, share it with your friends. Anybody who's thinking about moving to Ghana, who is trying to make a decision about what it might be like, or is not trying to make a decision about what it might be like, but is trying to figure out what it might be like. They might want to visit first, or they can watch this channel and they can get a lot of insight into what it is like to live here. So with that, thanks for watching. I will see you all on the next video.